So that's a great segue into one of the questions on this list. Something that would fall kind of under the soul igniting category. What book are you reading right now, or what, Audible are you listening to right now? Some sort of audiobook, something that you're enjoying.
That's an easy answer. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. I almost have that on repeat. It's one of those books that when you're feeling challenged or, just having a tough day, that is a great book to give perspective to what's really important, and knowing that the obstacle that may seem insurmountable is forcing you to grow. And that speaks to me. And it's one of those books that is kind of constantly on Audible for me when I walk the dog. And so I would say, yeah, that's the one that comes to mind.
Awesome. I think myself and some of our listeners will be interested in giving that a try.
Yes, I hope so.
I think we've got time for another question each.
Great.
I would love to hear more about your wellness practices, because I know that's such an important part of your life. And so if you could share like a health routine that you swear by, that's like been the thing that's, made you who you are or benefited you in a positive way. And it's something that like your day-to-day wouldn't be complete without.
Oh, good question. I will say that over the years, my routines have evolved and changed based on little things, like when I have to get up in the morning and take my daughter to school. It seems like every year that shifts and changes. And so what worked last year at 7:00 in the morning might not work this year. But I will say that there are certain activities that I do that continue to provide benefit and continue to help me evolve. When I was first introduced to yoga, that was in 2000, so 23 years ago, the practice was very much about the physical poses and having to go to a studio, and that's what I needed to feel better and to, quiet the mind. And I continue to have my practice, my physical practice, but I will say that in the last 2 years to 3 years of working with you, my meditation, my stillness practice has evolved to be something that I really need and I want pretty much every morning. And that is built on a routine, and almost down to, where I sit, how long I sit, and even reading. Speaking of Ryan Holiday, I'd mentioned his book. He has a book called The Daily Stoic. And my practice today in terms of meditation is to arrive at work a little early, and I take my shoes off at a certain place. I have my pillow, my seat, and I read the Daily Stoic for the day. And depending on my time, typically I'll sit for 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll go through a number of different kind of breath techniques. But I will say that stillness practice has evolved from the physical asana practice with yoga to where I'm less craving that physical practice and I'm more craving the stillness practice. And I can drop in faster with that practice. And it's funny because I remember meeting teachers years ago who would teach meditation, and they would be considered yogis. And I never really understood that because they didn't practice the asana or the physical practice.
Right.
And I now realize over the years that the physical practice is really just meant to get you to a place that you can sit still. So going back to your question, right now, my current practice is a 10 to 15 minute meditation in the morning, stillness practice. That's really what I crave and need right now. And I'm sure that will evolve and change, but that's where I'm at right now.
It's awesome. It's been awesome to be a part of that journey with you too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What are you listening to or reading?
Right now, well, I usually have like 3 different things that I'm listening to depending on my mood, or what I'm doing. I often, so mindful meal prep at the end of the day is one of my rituals. I really like making myself dinner. I like making my food. I can, just be in the act of like my, feeling, doing just meditatively. And so I'll often put something on so I'm learning at the same time. And so I've been listening to Mark Groves a lot from Create the Love. We had one of my dear friends, Matt Gottesman, was actually featured on that podcast recently. And so I just wrapped, listening to that whole episode with him about honesty in relationships. And so, I'm listening to Create the Love. I also really drop into Pema Chodron when I am, feeling like I need to be reminded of certain things. And it's been an interesting last 6 weeks of my life with, personal things going on. And so I find my way back to teachers that are the most impactful for me. And so Pema Chodron is one of those for me. And then also Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
That's another one I've been, just going back to. So I've actually been doing quite a few of his meditations recently, just changing energy, changing frequency, actively, I say actively, it's funny because it's a stillness practice, but like I am, working to shift the way that I've been feeling.
Yes.
And I really lean into those meditation practices when I'm feeling out of sorts or stuck.
Takes work.
Yeah, it does.
It takes a lot of work.
It's a dedication. It's a discipline. It's a desire, and that fuels me.
Yes, and I think once you see the spark of the benefits of doing it,
indeed,
and then when you don't do it, you're like, oh, okay, and then you do it, and you're like, oh, that's
why.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So.